Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Euphoria Season 2 just finished on HBO Max. It has been a few years since Season 1 of the show that I absolutely love. Very much a soap opera of sorts, following these teenagers in a Los Angeles suburb. Very stylized, stylish, a lot of great camera work in the Season 1 of this show. Obviously, breakout performances by Zendaya. Also from Hunter Schafer, who plays Jules. Just some great characters, interesting characters, all well fleshed out. Like, so many of these characters are people that I know. Either people I knew in high school, people I hung out with in my 20s. These are, like, I would say, a very accurate depiction of modern day kids growing up via stylized filmmaking and storytelling, but all dealing with very real problems, whether it being social media, whether it being drugs, specifically pharmaceutical drugs, or other recreational drugs that go around different high schools. But these are, in my opinion, very realized characters, all of which coming from the mind of Sam Levinson, who is the creator of the show, the writer and director of the show. The visuals of the show, a little bit toned down in Season 2, not as, like, there were some amazing scenes and camera work in Season 1. And this one still has an amazing aesthetic, still visually great, but just toned down a little bit. And part of that, I'm sure, is due to the fact that this show it's taken a few years to come back because of the pandemic. There were the 2 special episodes that were released, which are beautiful episodes, short films within themselves, each one examining a different character. The first one being Rue, and her basically having a long conversation with her sponsor, Ali, in a diner. An amazing episode. And the second one was with Jules, her girlfriend, having a long conversation with her counselor, her therapist. And both really bring to life a lot of aspects of who these characters are, which is something that the show does in general. This show is so good at fleshing out these characters and showing you the backstory. So much of this season is showing you context for how these people became these people. Big characters in this season. We focus a lot on Fezco, the drug dealer that, Rue's friend, but also drug dealer who works with this kid, Ashtray, this younger kid. We see their intro stories. We're also given backstory to Cal, who is Nate Jacobs' dad. Go on, out. Who, staunch conservative guy, big guy in the community, but also somebody who was has this secret life that Nate found out about, was something that was explored in Season 1. The fact that Nate knew his dad to be not only cheating on his mom, but to be recording these moments where he's sleeping with men and trans women and different things while he recorded all these things. It's a very messed up family life for the Jacobses. But in this, we get the backstory of Cal, his dad, and how, when he was in high school, part of the wrestling thing, his best buddy, who is a wrestler, they both kind of have this moment, which is beautiful. It gives context to these characters, but also makes them exponentially more sympathetic. Seeing where Cal came from makes a character that was a horrible person. Not that he's a better person in this one, but it gives context to why, the damage that caused that, the trauma that caused that. This show deals with trauma. Whether it's addiction, death, different things, the different things that have happened in these different people's lives, shows those events and how those events changed these characters, and those things talk to why those characters act the way they do. Like, you understand so much more why Cal is the person he is, because he's hid who he is his entire life. At least to his family. He's been living a separate life. He's been living this straight life where he's this staunch conservative which ironically so often happens, that you have these like hugely conservative people, these people that are the most homophobic, end up being gay themselves. And it's this suppression of who they are in reality, which causes them, that pressure causes them to not only hide who they are and live a lie, a complete lie, but because they're living a lie, it's effortless for them to lie about all other things. So the Cal episode's great. The very first episode of season 2, you get to see how Fezco and Ashtray came to be. You see Fezco's grandma, who's like this badass, like gangster bitch, going into a strip club to shoot the dick off the owner, and just not taking any shit. And like kind of her teaching Fez how to run their business, this drug business that they're doing, and how to, just survive in this way, which is amazing. I would love to see an entire show. Like, if there could be spin-offs of all of these different characters, and it would be a great show. I would love to see that prequel show of like Fezco, Ashtray, and his grandma, and how they turn into the people they turn into in Euphoria. That I would love. That would be so interesting. It has such the vibe. I mean, obviously dealing with drugs, but like such the vibe of like a Breaking Bad. Like, if the guys who are doing Better Call Saul wanted to jump onto an amazing, like a similar vibe to those things, I guess Better Call Saul is quite a bit different than Breaking Bad, but I would still love that. I would still love to see a show dedicated to Fez and Ashtray. And also kind of crazy where the name Ash came from. The fact that his name was Ashtray. And I think it's because at one point he ate all the cigarettes out of an ashtray when he was a baby. And he's like not even related. It's an amazing episode. And so many of these moments, like even the Cal thing, it's not a full episode, are just like these little glimpses into what was. And then there's also glimpses of what will be. Like Nate in this one is starting to form a relationship with Cassie, who is his ex's best friend. So there's a little bit of a love triangle situation there. And he has these visions of these romanticized visions of what his life could be with Cassie, to fall in love with her and to have her babies. But then you realize like everybody has like everybody's got an edge to them. Like everybody's got issues. Everybody's got traumas. Whether it's Nate and his dad Cal, or it's Cassie and her character, the exploration of her character in this season, where you see how she's like dedicated her life to like looking a certain way, to like portraying her a certain way. Instead of understanding who she is, it's more about how she can like alter herself to make other people feel liked and wanted, which there's a great aspect of one of these episodes where she's constantly doing all these different outfits to try and impress Nate, to try and get his attention, just to get his attention. Like everybody is so messed up in the head. And you would think that it would be Rue, the lead, Zendaya, because so much of this is also her battle with drug addiction, her relationship to drugs, and what it's really like for somebody struggling with drug addiction, not only from the aspect of Rue, somebody who's dealing with it, and see how effortless and easy it is to relapse and get back into it, but also shows the reality of what happens to those families. The Many Faces is an ongoing abstract ink portrait series that I started many years ago. I release a new face every day, but go to inspireddisorder.com to check them out. So many available. But as a listener to The Ray Taylor Show, you can save 10% when you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out. So go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF. That stands for The Many Faces. Go check them out, browse the entire collection, and when you decide on a piece, or maybe multiple pieces, make sure you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out, and you'll save 10%. As a big thank you for checking out my work, for collecting my work, and for listening to The Ray Taylor Show. And with that said, let's get back to the show. And I've seen it from, like, with meth. I've had friends that have, like, families, or even opiates back when Oxycontins were the big thing. Like, when I say I know people like this, I can't even tell you how many doors I've walked into and seen friends of mine snorting powder off of tables, crushing up pills, going to rehabs, disappearing, just completely disappearing from people's lives. Like all of these characters are so well fleshed out and so well realized, which I really appreciate, despite the fact that a lot of the show is basically just a soap opera. But I'm here for it. I just want to see all of these characters interacting and seeing, the ups and downs and things that they go through. And I think there's been a lot of criticism about season 2, which I love season 2. I'm excited for a third season, which I think it was announced that there's going to be a third season, because I just want to see all of these characters kind of change. Like, by the end of this season, Nate Jacobs has changes. Definitely his dad. By the end of the season, his dad's definitely changed. But even like the two friends with Cassie and Maddie, their friendship has been altered. You have Jules, how she's been changed. There's a new character that came in, Elliot, who is also another like love triangle with Jules, which that whole situation, like, Elliot was the one that helped, in some ways, enabled Rue to relapse, and was the person that Rue did all of her drugs with. But then Elliot and Jules started hitting it off and are basically more on the same wavelength, because Rue is... We see so much of Rue. I mean, there's an amazing episode, I think it's episode 5, where you see the rock bottom that she goes to. Just an amazing episode. Like, after this episode aired, all over social media, people were like praising Zendaya for what she did, and it was a great episode. And it just perfectly illustrates what rock bottom looks like. Now, has she fully realized the consequences for what happened in that episode? Not necessarily. There is a specific character that may or may not still exist that could potentially be a huge harm to her. We also lost some characters in this. I mean, the whole arc of the Fezco and Ashtray in this season is amazing and heartbreaking. You also see Rue's friend Lexi, who is the younger sister of Casey. She has this play that gets put on. It's the last 2 episodes of season 2, and it's this play that she wants to do, and it's all in reference to what's happening in the show, the people that are in her life. Which, kind of interesting that I just reviewed Scream yesterday, and I'm going to be doing my top 5 Scream movies at the end of the week. But another story where the movie is commenting on itself. I mean, the metatextual aspects of Scream are present throughout the franchise, but in the most recent Scream, it's all about the Stab franchise So it's able to kind of condense all those references into one fine point, where this show, Lexi's whole play is based on her friends and just what it's like. It's almost like Euphoria in stage form, in play form, which is beautiful how it comments on everything. And you're seeing the characters who are being portrayed on stage in the audience, and you're seeing them reacting to the different things, reacting to the honesty that they don't see. They're looking at a mirror. They're looking at a representation of who they are, an honest representation of who they are. It's from the point of view of Lexi, but everybody sees, from Rue seeing who she used to be before her dad. You like in season 2, you come to realize, and maybe Rue comes to realize how much her dad's death impacted her drug abuse, and also what ruined her friendship, or not ruined her friendship with Lexi, but was the thing that kept them from being the good friends that they once were back then, back when they were innocent. And it was amazing. It was beautiful. It was beautiful to see that play. Like, I love that meta kind of, almost Synecdoche, New York-ish on a level, but, done at a far smaller scale. So good. So you get to see Rue with her relationship and drugs hitting rock bottom, Fezco and Ashtray, Cal and Derek, that the 1980s Euphoria moment that happens at the beginning of one of those episodes where you see Cal's backstory. You also see Maddie and Casey, their kind of friendship, and that invisible tension that's just about to happen at some point in this show, in this season, like that has to come to a head. The fact that Maddie and Casey are both into Nate, like there's the whole dynamic there. You also see Lexi and Fez. Like, there's a house party that happens at the beginning of this season, where you see Fez hanging out at one of their parties with the whole everybody in the school, and he's having this conversation with Lexi, and it's like the most honest and real conversation he's had, and she's like really enjoying, because they're actually having a conversation, getting to know each other. It's beautiful. And also knowing how different they are, like knowing that Fez is like this, he's like this hardcore drug dude that like the with very little to lose. Like, he's living in a completely different reality than everybody at that party, aside from Ashtray. And Ashtray, it's crazy how like legit that kid is as like a dangerous like person. Like, amazing. The two best characters in my favorite characters, Fezco and Ashtray. But to see like the sweetness that Lexi is, because Lexi is like one of the few characters in this entire show that's still innocent on some level. Like, she hasn't necessarily, even though she did lose her father, like, it hasn't affected her. It's almost similar to Rue's sister. I would like it to compare it to another character that doesn't really show the trauma. Kind of kept it together. But at least Lexi has been able to process those things into this play. But to see her having that conversation with Fez, and to see their connection, and to see the events that happen at the end of the season when she's putting on the play and she's waiting for him to show up. You want to talk about a scenario that hits me close to home, where it's like Lexi is in this new, like, just starting to talk to this guy that they clearly like each other, and they're having these conversations, and it's like this seeds of like new love. And new love, when it first starts, is a powerful thing. And what happens in this is that it gets cut short. It gets taken away. We don't get to see the aftermath of that, how that plays out for Lexi. This is going to be in the next season. Definitely something that we could see Lexi's character turning into like kind of Breaking Bad, as it were, to bring back that reference. But for me, I've experienced that kind of when you're in that situation of new love, of like so much potential is there. And then to have that person eliminated from existence without ever having the opportunity to see if it was real, to see if where it could go. Not giving that opportunity. And to have that moment where you're supposed to meet and they never show up. Right? In my situation, I was falling head over heels for this person that I met online. We went to school together back in the MySpace days. And she was a huge fan of my art. She was, when we first started talking, we like met through MySpace, mutual friend, whatever. When she broke up with her boyfriend, it was clear that she was into me as I was clearly into her, but it was friendship. It was just nothing but friendship. Prior to that, she had purchased my first person to purchase a painting from me. And now she's single. And it's in the MySpace days, if you remember, there's these surveys that got passed around all the time. And there was like this love survey, this like compatibility survey. And there's something that she sent it to me on Valentine's Day. And she's like, made sure, she like came back and made sure that I filled it out. She wanted to see my answers. Right? It's a survey you put up and you put it up on your bulletin board or whatever. So we had the for sure connection, and she was going to come out. I lived in San Diego. She lived in the Palm Springs area, and she was going to drive out to come and see me. She called before she left. It's like, hey, I'm actually going to leave early. I'm leaving with my friend. She's going to stay at another friend of hers in like Oceanside or whatever. So the next day, I wake up, I get the voicemail. It's like, oh, she's coming. We're finally going to meet. We already met, but we're finally going to hang out and spend time together romantically. Right? It's different context for us spending time together. And all day at work, I worked at Costco in the pizza kitchen, which was outside of the building. And I would just like be looking at the crowd outside the windows, the pickup windows and order windows, and like constantly like looking for her to see if she shows up. Because I was like, I knew she showed up early, so like she knows where I work, so she's probably going to show up and surprise me and say hello. So I kept looking, kept almost mistaking people like, oh, that's her. And in the last two episodes, or in the last episode maybe specifically, Lexi is constantly looking out into the audience that's watching her play, and she keeps seeing the empty seat that was saved for Fez. And she's, waiting for him. She doesn't know what's happening to him, but she keeps looking out in the audience. There's even a moment where she dedicates to the audience, like, listen, I was going to say he was supposed to be here, but there's an aspect of this play that is dedicated to him that he inspired or encouraged me to do, and he just never shows up. And the same thing in mine. She never showed up. And then I went home after work and got all ready. We were supposed to meet that night. We were supposed to go hang out. So I was like, maybe she's just at the beach with her friends all day. And then I got a call from my friend, and he told me that she had died in a car accident on her way out to San Diego. And I didn't believe. I mean, that like we never see Lexi hear what happened to Fez. But in those moments where she's looking out in the audience as like, oh no. Especially since we see where, Fez doesn't die, but let's just say that all of that potential and all of the things going through her head because of that potential, all of those like what ifs are now not even a potential. Like in a very strange point in a relationship, because it's not like they spent any time together aside from that conversation that they had or small conversations that they had. It hadn't taken that next step, and it was just about to take that next step, and it was cut short. So for me watching that, I was like, oh my God, I know that feeling. And like, I assume the beginning of season 3 is going to, at some point, deal with the fact that Lexi finds out what happened to Fez. And I might cry. I might cry. But definitely relatable. Join Inspired Disorder Plus today. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. Kat, not as big of a character in this season. She does have a little bit of a moment where, you know, she's really depressed. She ends up breaking up with her boyfriend. I mean, we see a little bit of a relationship with the guy from the last season, and, you know, he ends up being more vanilla than she'd liked. She has fantasies of, like, you know, like a Jason Momoa type of guy having his way with her. And that's like something, again, the fantasy versus reality. She's searching for that fantasy, and is disappointed with the reality of it. But we don't see a whole lot of her character. The great moment with her kind of seeing all these social media archetypes who are trying to be the self-help gurus to try and make people who are overweight feel better about themselves. Just like this empowerment of positivity that's just like, when you're depressed is the last thing that you care about. But yeah. Oh, and also a little bit we get to see the potential relationship between Ali, Rue's sponsor, and her mom, because he comes over after she has her rock bottom moment. She ends up apologizing to Ali. He comes over for dinner one night and finally gets to meet the family. I think he dropped her off at one point to introduce himself to her mom, but later there's a meal together, and it's a great scene because it's finally like a scene where Rue's mom has the ability to talk to somebody who understands what Rue is going through in a way that she doesn't have any other people to talk to. Like, Ali knows firsthand a lot of what Rue is going through, but also can see from the outside, sees what Rue is doing to not only herself, but also her family. So it's like, it's an interesting dynamic where we're seeing kind of the grown-ups in this show, the few grown-ups in the show, kind of have a little bit of chemistry that makes complete sense. And would be something that I'm sure on some level Rue would like probably appreciate Ali as a stepdad, whether it goes that way or not. But you could see if it does happen where Rue's character would have more respect for Ali as a stepdad than the other people that her mom was dating, which she clearly had zero respect for. Because Ali, she already has respect for Ali for the most part, despite the fact that she's still in her drug-induced ego. But yeah, a lot of great aspects to the show, whether it's the new characters, giving context to just horrible people to somehow make them like to have sympathy for these people. Like, I would never have expected to have sympathy for Cal. Like, that is a character like that was just a disgusting person. But when they gave him the context, it's like, oh, like, he's still not a good person. He still has problems. But you see where his problems come from. And when you see what makes a person that way, it humanizes them a little bit, and it's hard to have compassion for other humans once they're humanized. But yeah, I enjoyed the show. I can understand people not liking it, whatever. I love it. I like, as far as a stylish soap opera, I'm down. It's well written, characters well fleshed out and idealized, like honest depictions of what it is to be like a teenager, modern day. It's so similar to what it's like, what it was like in my day, in my late teens, early 20s, and what a lot of people were like around me. I was more of like the Lexi character, right? Where I didn't get into those things, but I knew people. I knew a lot of people getting into a lot of things and seeing how the paths they went down. And I would say all those aspects are highly grounded in reality, despite the fact that it is very stylish. And there's, some beautiful scenes from this season as well. And also an amazing soundtrack. Like, not only amazing soundtrack, amazing score. Like, I was looking up songs multiple times while watching this show because I was like, oh, I like that song. I like that song. But also there were times where I was like, what song is this? And it wasn't. It was just the score of the show. So I appreciate that. From an audio perspective, it's a lot of fun to listen to. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens in season 3. I love the show still. I actually miss some of the stylized camera work from season 1. A little bit. But other than that, I love it. It's great. Top to bottom, I'm a huge fan and would love to see a spin-off show, a movie. Give me a special. Have Sam Levinson do like a 2-hour special of Fez and Ashtray and their grandma, of their like coming of age story. That I want to see. For sure I want to see that. But anyway, until season 3, I'm excited. Check it out. It's on HBO. Euphoria, season 2. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind